Greeting from Shanghai Buddhist University to all, also Buddha Vihara Sangha in the UK, and I can also see our Sangha in Singapore joining via Zoom, and also only one monk in Serbia, but our Pandita also joining as well. And also greeting to all the trustees, Yom Sa'an, Dr. Jotin, Dr. Saitimo, and I can also see there Dr. Nangita Pon, Makin Kelai, and others. And of course, the main sponsor, Yom Ali and Yom Jude, and all other Thai devotees and Burmese devotees in the UK. I should warn you today, my talk is going to be a little bit long, because I missed the UK, and very, very rarely I had the opportunity to speak to you. The title of my talk today is called Justice Originates from Compassion and Joyful Thought. Compassion is Karuna, joyful thought is Mudita. So justice comes from that. This is the idea of my talk. Justice, in Burmese we call it Tayamyatamu. In Thai we say Kwam Pen Tham. Kwam Pen Tham. Kwam Pen Tham maจากกรุณากับมุทิตา Tayamyatamu ka karuna ne mudita အတွေးကနေလာ So this is the gist of it. And this is very much related to the Katina practice. The Katina practice that we have today, we have a set of robe in front of you. And this set of robe is a ready-made robe today because of the advanced technology that we have since 2,600 years after the Buddha. But during the Buddha's time, everybody had to weave their own clothes, and they had to make it themselves, basically. Okay. Unless you are royals and very rich people, you would have people making it for you. And the Buddha said, for one monastery, just one piece of robe is allowed to be Katina or Katin, just one. You can see over there 7 monks sitting there, 7 monks. Okay, sitting there. If we only have one robe, what we are going to do? How we are going to distribute? So distribution, wealth distribution in terms of the term that the government and political scientists use is called wealth distribution. The problem of wealth distribution, how we are distributing road, or how we are distributing the resources. If the distribution of the resources is problematic, a monastery, or maybe a village, maybe a family, maybe a country, we have problem. People call this the gap between the rich and the poor. When the poor people are getting poorer and poorer, and the rich richer and richer, then there will be social problem. So Katina practice considers wealth distribution. How we are going to distribute it? The Buddha said it has to be based on need. Okay, the most needy monk should get it, not the most senior one, not the hardest working one. Dr. Nandita the MC mentioned about the IQ earlier, and not the highest IQ, but one with the most need. The most needy monk should be chosen to receive this piece of robe. Today, of course, because people offer a lot of robe, that is why we don't see this significance. Actually, the Buddha wanted to show the society that wealth distribution should be based on need. That is why in England we have welfare system, a very Buddhistic thinking. You go to a hospital, it's based on your need. It's not based on how much you can pay. And children go to school, it's based on their needs, not how much their parents can pay. They are the needy one, the young ones, the elderly one, the sick one. They are the most needy in the society. So if the society takes care of them, then we live with the spirit of the Katina. But as unenlightened people, we call in Thai Putuchon, in Burmese Putusin. Sometimes, we feel left out. Sometimes we feel ignored when we don't get it, although we are not the most needy one. So this is a psychological problem. This psychological problem has to be dealt with psychologically, what people know today as meditation, mindfulness meditation. What do? We need to practice joyful feeling, rejoicing in what we have, in our own effort. Look at the effort that we put into making the Oxford Buddha Vihara. 2 places in England, one in the city of Oxford itself. We have had to move 3 times to be in the current place. And now that's not big enough for meditation retreat. So we have had to put in more effort into creating this meditation center in the forest, district of Forest, a beautiful place in the rural area, 10 acres, and also surrounded by many farms and beautiful hills. If you look at the effort we put into it, we can rejoice in our own effort. This is mudita. Everybody, virtually everybody has worked their soul out and non-stop. But to rejoice only in our own effort, that's not enough. We need to rejoice in the hard work and the success of other people. Look at Amaravati, look at Chittaviveka, huge monastery. And now Amaravati is undergoing a huge renovation, and it just happened that this is the COVID, the pandemic period, and they had to stop the meditation retreat. But the renovation, this big renovation, was underway long before this. Their branch in Chithurst, Chittaviveka, is much bigger, 120 acres, like that. So we have to rejoice in the effort of the monks over there, lay people, the devotees. And look at Wat Puthakati in Wimbledon, well maintained, well run, like that. Wat Puthakam and many Sri Lankan monasteries, Burmese monasteries, every place, okay, tells us a big story of people coming together, putting in a lot of effort. So if we have this good habit of rejoicing in the good things, what we call mudita, then when we come to wealth distribution, based on the policy that the resources should go to the most needy one, then we wouldn't have problem. Today, after all the devotees have left, the monks will still have something to do. They will have to choose among themselves who will receive the robe, and once they have done the ritual, only then this robe offering, katina or gatei, is complete. The wording, what they are going to say is Atatang Pande Sankasa Katinang Dhammiko Katinataro Anumodata. The one who has received the robe would say, please rejoice in this. Another keyword is Dhammiko Katinataro, righteous or a just katina. That means this wealth distribution is just or righteous. Katin ที่เป็นธรรมที่ญาตามุชิเดกเทไอ้ลูกเทเปียมีความหมายว่ากฐินที่เป็นธรรม So justice here with the katina has to be based on mudita. Without mudita, forget about just one piece of road. If we have 100 such road, if we have many more resources, even that wouldn't create a harmonious community. This message is applicable to a family, to a society, to a hospital, to an organization, to a company, to a country. So at the heart of justice is wealth distribution, the way we distribute wealth. Okay. Healthcare system, education system, social system, defense system. Okay, all those, there has to be justice in allocating the resources. between those projects, those ministries. So the word dhammiko or dhammiko means just, a just, or a righteous, which indicate that Kathina is successful only when there is justice in wealth distribution. But this wealth distribution can only be done successfully one after another, like what we have 2,600 years ago, if we practice rejoicing. Okay, if we develop the habit of rejoicing, we all have something to rejoice in. Yomali, for example, Yomali told me when she first came to England, she didn't know a word of English, but today she is the main sponsor. She didn't know a word of English, and when she went into the supermarket, she didn't know how to get out of it. That story inspired me. Okay, her hardworking style. Okay, never give up. That always inspired me. And look at Alison and James, her two children, who can stand on their own feet today. They all grew up before our eyes. Now Yomali is running the 8 Bells restaurant. ยังไม่เคยถึงที่ร้านอาหารโยมมะลิไม่ได้พูดถึงชื่อนะโยมมะลิเดี๋ยวอาตมากลับมาค่อยไปที่ร้านอาหารไปฉันที่ร้านอาหาร This is to say, for a community to be peaceful, for a country to be peaceful, socially, we need to take care of wealth distribution. Psychologically, we need to take care of mudita, rejoicing in people. So I really like, of course, I don't like cricket as a sport, but I like the rules and the gentleman manner of cricket, which is the national sport, one of the national sports in England. When you lose, if you don't congratulate the winning team, okay, you commit some offense. I really like it. This is about being gentleman. Being a good sports person. Being civilized, being cultured, being polite, and we can also be emotionally mature, high EQ. Okay. This is very important. Instead of competing with one another in workplace, instead of competing, it's very important to rejoice in each other's ability, in each other's company, to look at each other's good points. Only then we can work together, we can collaborate, and we can also prevent violence. At the end of this talk, I'm going to quote from this one, Nonviolent Communication. This is a famous book by Marshall Rosenberg, Professor of Psychology from America. One of the ways to prevent violence in any place is to practice mudita. Sankasa Katinanta Miko Katinataro Anupmodami. Every other monk who hasn't got the Katinaro, we have to declare, okay, to the other members of the Sangha, to other monks, that he is very happy about the way the Katina has taken place. Only if they have done so, the Buddha said, okay, for 4 months I'm going to relax the monastic rules, the Vini in Burmese, Pravinai in Thai, the monastic rules, 5 of them, for 4 months. The Buddha wanted to make life easier for monks. For example, one can travel from the monastery without informing others. This rule is relaxed. Why? Because up to this point, the monk has already demonstrated that he cares about the community, that he rejoices in the welfare, well-being of his fellow monks. With that kind of high EQ, he's not going to cause problem. Although he wouldn't ask for permission, if he has something to do, he would say, okay, I'm going out for a while for this and this reason, and will you take care of this? Would you that sort of being responsible, being a responsible person, we can find that quality if we can celebrate the Katina successfully in the spirit of early Buddhism. But Katin is not for every monk, it's not for every monastery. It's only for the monastery where you have at least 5 monks and living continuously together for 3 months. Okay, for 3 months. Only that monastery should receive this kind of Katina robe, should have this kind of ceremony. Meaning, the monks will have to learn how to live together. At least 5 months will have to live together. But if you live together, you know the problem. No need to mention a country with 10, 20, 50, 60 million people. Just think about a family of 5, 6, 7. How any difference can cause disagreement and bad feeling among family members. If we are not family, we are not blood related, but we follow the Buddha and we happen to live in the same place. Of course, if our Dhamma practice is still ongoing and not yet reached the destination, the goal, then there will be time that we have mood swing, ups and downs, just like other people. So what we have to do then is, on the last day of the 3 months retreat, in Burmese or one of Pansa in Thai. Monks we have to come together and invite each other for comments about his own behavior. Okay, please advise me if there's anything I need to improve with my behavior, he will have to invite other monks like that to offer criticism, constructive criticism. Sankham pante pawarimi tite nawa sute nawa parisankayawa vadantuma ayasamanto anukama upadaya pasanto patikarisami. The meaning is, out of compassion, please advise me about my behavior. If you have seen something unseeming, if you have heard something inappropriate, or if you are just in doubt that I might have done something wrong, please give some advice to me so that I can reform myself. This is how every monk will have to say. If they don't say this, if they don't invite their fellow monks, there's no right to continue that road. And why the Buddha is doing that? Because he wants the community to live together in peace, to live together peacefully, harmoniously. And the way to do that is to create a mechanism through which they can address problems. And this is out of karuna, compassion. But this compassion has to start 3 months early. 1 cup pansa waso ladini. It has to start 3 months before that. If you just remember to practice compassion when there is a problem, sometimes it may be too late. It may be too late. That is why in my workshops, in my Dhamma talk, I mentioned the good example of Denmark. They teach empathy and nonviolent communication in the school from 6 to 16 years old. They teach children how to discuss and how to express themselves, how to express their need. And then when their fellow students are talking, then to listen to other people's need, to listen to the need of other people, and to be able to identify our own need. This is the way to avoid violence. Sometimes we forget our need, what we really need. Okay. If we need a democratic society, if we need a prosperous society, sometimes we forget about this. We forget about this, and we are distracted by something else, and then we either blame other people or we blame ourselves. I'm going to be coming back to this in a few minutes. So to start compassion 3 months early, what do I mean by this? Not just to observe the 3 month retreat, Vassa or Pansa or Vasu, not just to observe it physically, but also to develop the spirit of Vassa, the spirit of the 3 month retreat, the range retreat. What is the spirit? It's compassion. The Buddha was not the one who initiated this retreat. For him, the retreat should be all year round. But why just the 3 months? This is because in India those days, where Buddhism arose and where the Buddha lived and many of his immediate disciples lived, I think that would be pretty the same elsewhere if we talk about transportation, communication. Transportation was very basic. Communication was very basic. You wouldn't imagine highway. You wouldn't imagine, traveling, from Oxford to Park Farm in 2 hours. You wouldn't do that. Long after the Buddha, more than 2,000 years after the Buddha, Shakespeare traveled from Stratford to London. It took him 1 month. And if you read his biography, it took him about a month. And today we can travel from Stratford to London maybe around in exactly the same, about 2 hours as well. So those days, there were no proper roads, proper highway. And when Buddhist monks travel during the rainy season, they step on people's crops, vegetation, because they had to go through the vegetation. The Buddha actually encouraged Buddhist monks to travel, because when you travel, you don't accumulate many things, many possessions. Instead, you liberate basic, a kind of minimalism. That minimalist approach has always been there as part of Buddhist monasticism. But when the people complained that Buddhist monks were damaging the crop, the Buddha listened to them with compassion. You have a point, I'm going to lay down a rule that my disciples stay in one place during the vegetation period, that is the 3-month rainy season. That's how we came to observe the retreat itself. So the Buddha had compassion for the farmer who suffer, and also for the environment. So I'm connecting 3 events that take place within 4 months in the Buddhist calendar. In Burmese we say Waso, Wajjo, Kathe. In Thai, Khao Phansa, Ok Phansa, Kathin. These 3 events, only if we take them together and try to see the reason behind them, only then we will understand the message of the Buddha, the sociological message and psychological message. The sociological message is that for a community, for a family, for a country to be harmonious and peaceful and prosperous, there need to be compassion and karuna. Now, in the way we learn in the school, at university, in the way social welfare system is created, in the way hospitals are run, like that. And also, there should be an emphasis when we connect with the good thing, the sunny side of life, our own effort, our own success. So with these 2 qualities, we create a society where justice will prevail, the foundation of justice. It's not enough just to create democratic election and elect people. We need to create this EQ foundation. This is emotional quotient. I said this, okay, I'm going to quote something now. From this book, which I brought from Oxford, Auto Trace, written by Daniel Goleman, the author of Emotional Intelligence, and also Professor Richard Davidson. Professor Richard Davidson from Wisconsin University, both of them are Harvard graduate. You can see the subtitle, Science Reveals How Meditation Changes Your Mind, Brain and Body. I'm going to read to you from page 114. This is a research, this is the results of the finding of a research from the Department of Social Neuroscience at the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences in Leipzig in Germany. Okay, I'm just going to read, one or two sentences. Compassion, she found, she means Dr. Tanya, the leading researcher. Dr. Tanya Singer, that's her full name. Compassion, Dr. Tanya Singer found, muted the emphatic distress that can lead to emotional exhaustion and burnout, as happens sometimes in the caring profession such as nursing. Burnout, problem of exhaustion and burnout. Okay, we can prevent this with compassion. If we practice compassion, they have found that in our brain there is a place which is active when we feel empathic or sympathetic towards some people. If we practice compassion, that exhaustion, that place related to exhaustion and burnout is muted. It's something like we mute on Zoom and people cannot hear us. So that part of our brain is muted, it's not active. Instead of simply feeling with the other person's angst, compassion training led to the activation of completely different brain circuits, those for loving concern and also to positive feelings and resilience. You see, for a society or for a family, for a community, to be caring, loving each other and resilient, we need compassion. This is what science says today. And page 112, I'd like to read 2 or 3 more sentences. I quote, "The cultivation of loving concern for other people's well-being has a surprising and unique benefit. That is, the brain circuitry for happiness energizes along with compassion." So if we care for other people, if we have concern for other people's welfare and well-being, which is compassion, which is the spirit of the rain's retreat, then in our brain, the brain circuitry for happiness energizes. We will be happy people. Happy people don't quarrel. Happy people, if they have problems, they have patience to talk to each other. That's very important. Loving kindness of metta also boosts the connection between the brain circuit for joy and happiness and the prefrontal cortex, a zone critical for guiding behavior. Not just compassion, not just promotes happiness, but also promotes good thinking, good decision. You see, the prefrontal cortex in our brain in this area, that's critical for guiding behavior. the greater the increase in the connection between these regions, the more altruistic a person becomes following compassion meditation training. Altruistic means we think for other people. The reason I pick up this is because if we live together, if we have different likes and dislikes, we have different inclination, we need to compromise. We need to find a way to compromise. Okay, 5 months living together in one place. Say one of them gets up early in the morning at 3. Another one gets up at 4. Another one gets up at 6. The one who gets up at 6, obviously he goes to bed late. Someone who gets up at 3, he goes to bed early. So the time they go to bed and the time they get up are different. That means, okay, they will feel annoyed with each other. When one is asleep, the other makes noises. Obviously, you will feel annoyed with that. If that goes on longer, what will happen is that you will develop anger inside you. And that anger is very often in our society, in human society, that anger is expressed in the wrong way. Anger should be expressed according to psychology, but in the right way. And this book, Nonviolent Communication, okay, I'm referring to chapter 10, expressing anger fully. I'm talking, from this chapter. When we get angry, what do? Very often we hurt people with our words. Sometimes with our physical action. So this famous psychology professor, Marshall Rosenberg, he said, hurting people is too superficial in expressing anger. He talks about 4 options when we get angry. 4 options of expressing our anger. First, he talks about our misunderstanding, how we misunderstand, how we take other people as the source of our anger, the cause of our anger. He said other people are not the cause of our anger. They are merely the stimulus. The cause of our anger is our own thinking. This is what he said. What he says here. I just refer you to this book, but I might as well take a bit of time to read 1 or 2 sentences. He diagnoses one of the shortcomings he diagnoses of our society is that we often make people feel guilty in order to change them. We make them feel guilty. Yeah. To motivate by guilt, mixed up with stimulus and cause. Okay, this is one of the topic that he has. I just would like to read one sentence. He said, okay, the cause of anger lies in our thinking, in thoughts of blame and judgment. He demonstrates here from his work in a prison. A young man killed his best friend because of anger. His best friend because of anger. Then this process of psychology is employed to counsel that young man. That young man, he realized his mistake and he wanted to have some psychological training. So he applied to the prison authority. The prison authority had not replied him when this professor, this counselor saw him. He was very angry, this prisoner. Okay, Professor Marshall Rosenberg said, okay, can you tell me why you are angry? The prisoner said, I have told you. Why? Because they haven't responded to me. You see, by listening to this conversation, you can see that the prisoner thinks the prison authority are the cause of his anger. So he's blaming them. Here, blaming them or blaming himself come from judgment, meaning judgmental mind. Very often I talk about non-judgmental mindfulness. So it comes from judgment. Who is right and who is wrong? That may be so, the person may be in the wrong. But if we focus too much on the shortcoming of that person, we will forget what we need. So that professor asked that prisoner, what do you need? Then the prisoner goes silent for a few minutes. I need this training. Okay, you need this training. The way to get that training is, okay, if you approach them and make them feel guilty, it's unlikely that you will get that training. But if you just express your need, okay, I need this training, this skill in order not to come back to prison when I'm out. Otherwise, I may have trouble. If you mention this to them, you are likely to get what you want. So this is about identifying our need and expressing it. Okay. We get angry at that time, but the way to express our anger is to express our need. Here, if we can also identify the need of other people, if that prisoner can identify the need of the prison authority, he will be even more successful in getting what he wants. It's not for example, if someone arrives late for an appointment, we need reassurance that she cares about us. We may feel hurt. Okay. If instead our need is to spend time purposefully and constructively, we may feel frustrated. This is about identifying our emotion, what goes on in our mind. Okay. But if our need is for 30 minutes of quiet solitude, we may be grateful for her tardiness and feel pleased. Thus, it's not the behavior of the other person, but our need that causes our feeling. You can see here, our feeling or our emotions are related to our need. So the practice to identify our need is very important. In those three events, observing the rain's retreat, at the end of it when we invite each other for commands, and the Katina, all are based on our needs. The first one based on the need of the society and the need of the monk to learn how to live together. And the second one is the need to heal. Varana, that's the end of Pansa, is to heal. So the first one are based on compassion, karuna. The last one based on mudita. With compassion, karuna, and joyful feeling, mudita, we can identify our need and express it meaningfully, even when we get angry, whether hurting other people. So in that sense, anger or blaming other people is too superficial in getting our needs met. That is why any society, any family that cares about justice should pay attention to the development of compassion and joyful feeling, joyful thought, karuna and mudita. And I have explained you this is what the Buddha intended, and I have also quoted 2 or 3 people, the scientists, especially clinical psychologists, who have said the same thing. Now I like to say a few words in Burmese and then a few words in Thai. မြန်မာစကားအနေနဲ့ပြောမယ်ဆိုရင်ဒါတရားမျှတမှုလိုချင်တယ်ငြိမ်းချမ်းမှုတရားမျှတမှုရှိမှပဲတိုးတက်တယ်အေးချမ်းတယ်ဆိုတာတရားမျှတမှုကိုရှာဖွေတဲ့နေရာမှာကထိန်ထုံးနှံစင်လောင်လာပြီးတော့ကြည်နေဆိုရင်ကထိန်ကနှစ်ခုသင်ပေးတယ်တစ်ခုကတော့ wealth distribution ဆိုတာတင်စားရတွေကိုလိုအပ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကိုဦးစားပေးဖို့တင်စားတာမျှဝေတဲ့နည်းဒါတိုင်းပြည်အနေနဲ့လည်းတိုင်းပြည်အနေနဲ့မိသားစုအနေနဲ့မိသားစုအနေနဲ့ဒါအရေးကြီးတဲ့ဟာရေးချက်နောက်တစ်ချက်ကတော့ပစ္စည်းဥစ္စာဘလောက်ပဲဝေပေးစိတ်ထဲမှာမုဒိတာဆိုတဲ့ EQ မရှိဘူးဆိုရင်ကိုရှိတဲ့အရာကိုဝမ်းမြောက်ဝမ်းသာဂုဏ်ယူတတ်တယ်နေသိမ့်တဲ့ရောင်ရတဲ့နေတဲ့မုဒိတာမရှိဘူးဆိုရင်အဲ့ဒါလည်းပဲသူမငြိမ်းချမ်းနိုင်ပါဘူးကထိန်ကတင်ပေးတာကတစ်ဖက်ကလူမှုစီးပွားရေးရှုထောင့်နောက်တစ်ခုကစိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရှုထောင့်ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီကထိန်ကသူ့အတူဒီလိုလောက်ချင်တိုင်းလှူချင်တိုင်းထားပြီးတော့လှူလို့မရဘူးကထိန်လက်ခံမဲ့အကြောင်းကတန်ခါ9ပါးရှိရမယ်အဲ့9ပါးကတောက်လျှောက်3လပတ်လုံးအတူတူဝါမကြိုးပဲနဲ့သတင်းသုံးတယ်တန်ခါတွေဖြစ်ရမယ်အဲ့ဒါနေမကဘူးဝါကျွတ်တဲ့နေ့မှာသူတို့ဘာလို့မှာတော့ဝါရဏဆိုတာကအချင်းချင်းတူကိုယ့်ရဲ့အဖြစ်ကိုသူများတွေဝေဖန်အောင်ဖိတ်ကြားမယ်အဲ့ဒီလိုမဖိတ်ကြားဘူးဆိုရင်ဒီကထိန်မရဘူးမခင်းနိုင်ဘူးခင်းပေမဲ့တော့ကထိန်မမြောက်ဘူးပေါ့ဘာဖြစ်လဲလို့တာတော့ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီလိုပြောကြဆိုကြတာကနော်အနုကမ္ပဥပါဒာယကရုဏာနဲ့ပြောပါဒေါသနဲ့မပြောနဲ့အမြင်ကတဲ့စိတ်နဲ့မပြောနဲ့မဆဲနဲ့မဆိုနဲ့ဆိုတာဒီဟာကအရေးကြီးတယ် communication ရှိအောင်တန်ခါတစ်ပါးနဲ့တစ်ပါးကြားမှာ communication ရှိအောင်မြတ်စွာဘုရားကဒီ mechanism ကိုတည်ထွင်ပေးတာဒီ mechanism active မဖြစ်ဘူးအလုံးမလုပ်ဘူးဆိုရင်အဲ့ဒီ ai chào đã biết là gì mà vậy anh rồi ai em biết là gì mà vậy yêu rồi ai yêu biết là gì mà vậy nàng rồi ai nàng biết là gì mà vậy ta chỉ pháp sư lỗi chính chính về phần bộ tháp gia bộ lục ăn đông rồi ở du nề lục tông là du nề lục du hóa số ra bảo tháp hồi giờ cái này bien hóa số đấy số ra lại nhớ sao bây giờ cả tụi nhá yên lâu này để chính adopt lo lại đã bảo vậy you be the đông chú đã bảo pháp sư lỗi đông chú đã đâu nhớ sao bây giờ sáng nay rồi tụi tập chỉ ta liệu khả năng khí thuê bị đó giao đến nhà đó mà lãnh đạo khí thuê giao đến nhà màတရားဟောတရားထိုင်အဲ့လိုလုပ်စေချင်တာအဲ့ဒါဆိုရင်ပစ္စည်းတွေများများမစုတော့ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီသူများတွေကဝါဒီမိုးရင်းမှာတနေရာထဲနေပြီးတော့သူ့ရဲ့တပည့်တွေကခီးသွားနေတာကြတော့သူများတွေကစိုက်ခင်းနေပါတက်နေပြီးတော့လေသမားတွေကcomplain လုပ်တယ်ရှုတ်ချတယ်အဲ့ဒါမြတ်စွာဘုရားကအဲ့လေသမားတွေကိုကရုဏာထားတဲ့အနေနဲ့ဝါဆိုခိုင်းတယ်ဝါဆိုပြီးဆိုမှတော့ပြဿနာတစ်ခုဖြေရှင်းတဲ့နောက်ပြဿနာတစ်ခုပေါ်လာတယ်ဒီပြဿနာတစ်ခုကဘာမှဆိုခါတိုင်းဆိုရင်ဘုန်းကြီးတွေကအေးစေးနေခြင်းတို့ကစိတ်ညစ်တယ်ဆိုရင်နောက်တစ်နေရာထပ်ရွှေ့လိုက်တယ်အဲ့လိုမရွှေ့နဲ့ဒီ3လတော့တူတူအောင်မြင်မြင်အတူတူကနေပါဘာနဲ့နေရမှာတော့ဆိုတော့ compassion နဲ့နေရမှာကရုဏာနဲ့နေရဝါကျွတ်တာလေကရုဏာနဲ့အဲ့ကရုဏာကတော့အချင်းချင်းစောင့်ရှောက်တယ်ဒါကြောင့်Facebook ပေါ်မှာပြောတာဆိုတာတွေဒါ compassion နဲ့ပြောသလား compassion နဲ့မပြောဘူးလားဆိုတာဖတ်ကြည့်ရင်လေ့လာကြည့်ရင်သိနိုင်တယ်ဘယ်လိုပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ကိုယ့်ကိုcompassion ရှိရမယ်ပထမဆုံးကိုယ့်ကို self compassion ဆိုတာ Texas University Professor Christian Neff specialized လုပ်တယ် self compassion လိုအပ်တယ်အဲဒီ self compassion ရှိတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဟာနော်သူ့မှာဒေါသနဲတယ်ပေါ့သူဒေါသနဲတော့သူပြောတဲ့စကားကအရာရောက်တယ်ပေါ့ဒေါသနဲ့ပြောတဲ့ဟာတော့ပြောတာတော့ပြဿနာဖြေရှင်းပေးချင်တာပဲဒါပေမဲ့ပြဿနာဖြေရှင်းရမရအောင်ပြဿနာပဲပို့ပြီးတော့တိုးစီတယ်အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်ငြိမ်းချမ်းခြင်းနဲ့ဆိုရင်တရားမျှတမှုရှိရမယ်တရားမျှတမှုရှိခြင်းနဲ့ဆိုရင်ဒီ EQ quality compassion and joyful feeling ကရုဏာမုဒိတာတရားကိုလေ့ကျင့်ရမယ်ဆိုဒိမနိုင်ငံအကြောင်းဘုံမောခရဏပြောတယ်ဒိမနိုင်ငံမှာအသက်6နှစ်နဲ့16နှစ်ကလေးတွေကိုဒီလိုပုံစံမျိုးအတန်းထဲမှာသင်ပေးတယ်တစ်ပတ်ကိုတစ်နာရီအတန်းနဲ့သင်ရတယ်10နှစ်စာအဲ့ဒါကြောင့်သူတို့နိုင်ငံရေးသမားတွေကဘလို့ပဲအမြင်တွေမတူအမြင်မတူလို့ဟိုထားပြီးတော့တတ်တယ်ဆိုတာမရှိဘူးလူကြီးရလည်းပဲ9သန်းနဲ့8သိန်းပဲရှိတယ်အဲ့ဒါဘီလီယံဒီတန်း1000ချမ်းသာတဲ့လူက10ယောက်ရှိပါမီလီယံနာက2000လောက်ရှိပါတယ်နောက်ပြီးတော့အဲ့နိုင်ငံကလေးတွေကကိုယ်နဲ့အမြင်မတူတဲ့လူတွေကိုကြည့်ပြီးတော့စိတ်ညစ်တဲ့လူတွေမဟုတ်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မလို့သူတို့ကညံကောင်းတယ်တဲ့ညံကောင်းတော့သူတို့လေးလာစရာရှိတဲ့သင်ခန်းစာတွေအကြောင်းမှာပဲလေးလာရင်အကုန်လုံးနားလည်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်အဲ့ဒီနိုင်ငံကဟုံးဖို့မရှိဘူးဒါမှတ်သားစရာကောင်းတယ်ဒေါသမရှိဘူးဆိုရင်ညံကောင်းတယ်ပေါ့အချင်းချင်းပြိုင်ဆိုင်မှုလည်းမရှိတော့ဘူးလေသူကအဲ့ဒီလိုစကားပြောတတ်အောင်အဲ့ဒီလိုလက်ပူပေါင်းဆိုင်တတ်အောင်ငယ်ကလေးသင်ပေးတဲ့ခါကျတော့ကိုယ့်ရဲ့အယူလည်းပဲကိုကရှော့ပေးဖို့မလိုဘူးသူများအယူလည်းကိုကလေးစားတယ်ဒီအယူနှစ်ခုအဘေးယူလုံးတတ်တယ်ပေါ့ဆိုလိုတာက အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်မလို့တရားမျှတမှုဟာစိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာနဲ့ရှုရင်ဘယ်နဲ့စိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာ psychology ရှုတာနေကြည့်တရားမျှတမှုဟာကရုဏာနဲ့မုဒိတာနှစ်ခုကနေအခြေခံလို့ပြောပါလိမ့်မယ်အခုထိုင်းလို့နည်းနည်းပြောกฐินที่เราถวายงานกฐินวันนี้โยมมาลิโยมจูนแล้วก็ญาติโยมหลายท่านคือเราเหมือนกับว่าทำบุญแล้วก็อยากได้บุญแล้วก็ถวายคือเราก็ได้บุญแต่บุญคืออะไรบุญแปลว่าความเจริญเติบโตนะไม่ใช่แค่ส่วนตัวของเราแต่สำหรับในครอบครัวและก็ในบ้านเมืองในสังคมด้วยที่นี่นะในกฐินนี้พระพุทธเจ้าสอนไว้สอนพระสงฆ์ให้ปฏิบัติว่าในกฐินนี้นะกฐินนี้ต้องมีความเป็นธรรมธรรมิโกกฐินาทาโรอนุโมทถะธรรมิโกกฐินาทาโรอนุโมทามิคือแปลว่าจะต้องมีความเป็นธรรมธรรมิโกคือความเป็นธรรมความชอบธรรมชอบธรรมอะไรคือถ้ามีกฐินก็คือแปลว่ามีจีวรเป็นปัจจัยเป็นของที่มีคุณค่าในสมัยพุทธกาลคือจีวรไม่เยอะมีแค่ผืนเดียวนะในงานกฐินแต่ในสมัยปัจจุบันจีวรเยอะแล้วก็ที่นี่เวลาเราแจกของที่มีคือนี่เป็นทรัพยากรถ้าพูดเป็นประเทศก็เป็นประเทศอันหนึ่งก็คือเป็นทรัพยากรที่เราแจกทรัพยากรของประเทศนะจะต้องมีความเป็นธรรมถ้าไม่มีความเป็นธรรมก็คือมันไม่สงบมันไม่สามารถอยู่ร่วมเป็นสุขกันได้แล้วก็ที่สองก็คือที่เราแจกนี่นะประเด็นที่สองที่เราแจกนี่เราอาจจะแจกของเยอะเท่าไหร่ก็ดีถ้าเราไม่มีน้ำใจมุทิตาน้ำใจชื่นชมกับตัวเองแล้วก็ชื่นชมกับคนอื่นที่เขาขยันที่เขาสำเร็จถ้าเราไม่มีน้ำใจอันนี้น้ำใจมุทิตาแปลว่ามันอยู่ร่วมกันไม่ได้ที่นี่งานกฐินไม่สำเร็จเพื่อจะได้มีงานกฐินเราก็ทราบกันอยู่แล้วต้องมีพระสงฆ์จำพรรษาต่ำสุด5 รูปตลอด3 เดือนอยู่ร่วมกัน5 รูปนะมันไม่ใช่ของง่ายไม่ได้เป็นพระสงฆ์ก็คือจะต้องปฏิบัติงานที่เรามีแล้วก็หน้าที่ที่แต่ละท่านมีแล้วก็ปฏิบัติธรรมที่นี่ส่วนมากก็คือกรุณาคือความเห็นอกเห็นใจกันความเห็นอกเห็นใจที่เรียกว่า empathy ถ้าไม่มีความเห็นอกเห็นใจนะกรุณามันไม่สำเร็จคือความเห็นอกเห็นใจซึ่งกันและกันที่พระพุทธเจ้าทรงบัญญัติไว้ให้พระสงฆ์จำพรรษาจริงๆมันเป็นไอเดียที่มาจากศาสนาอื่นแต่พระพุทธเจ้ายอมใช้เพราะอะไรเพราะว่าช่วงฤดูฝนเวลาพระสงฆ์เดินทางนะท่านจะต้องเดินไปในสวนใน ที่ญาติโยมเขาทำไร่ทำนาเพราะฉะนั้นทำให้ชาวไร่ชาวนาเดือดร้อนเขาก็มากราบเรียนพระพุทธเจ้าว่าทำไมลูกศิษย์ท่านมาทำความเสียหายกับเราพระพุทธเจ้าก็จะต้องฟังท่านกรุณาชาวบ้านนะเพราะฉะนั้นการจำพรรษามาจากกรุณาของพระพุทธเจ้าที่กรุณาที่มีต่อชาวบ้านแล้วก็กรุณาที่มีต่อพระสงฆ์เนี่ยที่ มีต่อลูกศิษย์ด้วยถ้าอยู่ร่วมกันนะถ้าอยู่ที่เดียวเราสามารถเรียนจากซึ่งกันและกันสามารถช่วยกันแล้วก็สามารถช่วยเหลือญาติโยมที่อยู่ใกล้โอเคอันนี้แก้ปัญหาอันหนึ่งแต่ในโลกนะเวลาเราแก้ปัญหาอันหนึ่งบางครั้งมันอาจจะสร้างปัญหาใหม่อีกอันหนึ่งคือปัญหาใหม่อันนี้คืออะไรว่าพระสงฆ์จะต้องอยู่ร่วมกันถ้าความคิดไม่เหมือนกันถ้าการปฏิบัติการประพฤติปฏิบัติไม่เหมือนกันเหมือนกับว่าอันนี้พูดแบบง่ายๆสิ่งที่ดูไม่สำคัญเท่าไหร่องค์หนึ่งอยากจะตื่นเช้าองค์หนึ่งไม่ค่อยตื่นเช้าเท่าไหร่ในสององค์นี้อาจจะมีปัญหากันถ้าอยู่ร่วมกันนานเพราะฉะนั้นงานปวารณางานออกพรรษาก็คือสำหรับพระเป็นงานปวารณาคือสิ่งจะต้องทำก็คืออะไรต้องปวารณาพระรูปอื่นให้วิพากษ์วิจารณ์ตัวเองความผิดพลาดความคือการปฏิบัติเราถ้ามีสิ่งที่ไม่ชอบทำก็คือเราปวารณาท่านอื่นให้คำปรึกษาให้คำแนะนำให้สั่งสอนเราอันนี้ทุกท่านจะต้องทำแม้แต่พระที่เป็นเจ้าอาวาสที่พรรษาใหญ่ที่สุดก็จะต้องทำถ้าทุกท่านทำแบบนี้ก็แสดงว่าอันนี้นะเป็นระบบที่จะรักษาจิตใจรักษาน้ำใจรักษาความสามัคคีที่จะต้องมีที่เราเรียกว่าภาษาอังกฤษว่า healing trauma คือถ้ามีอย่างนี้ก่อนถ้ามีกรุณาแล้วก็จำพรรษาแล้วก็ออกพรรษาอย่างถูกต้องมีการปวารณาพระสงฆ์5 รูปซึ่งจะสามารถรับกฐินได้กฐินก็เป็นงานมุทิตากรุณากับมุทิตาเพราะฉะนั้นวันนี้นะอาตมาขออนุโมทนากับเจ้าภาพทั้งหลายรวมตั้งแต่โยมมะลิโยมจูนและทุกท่านอาตมาเห็นโยมกระแตด้วยนะมาถึงที่มหาวิทยาลัยอาตมานี้แล้วก็เห็นโยมโฟนด้วยเมื่อกี้เห็นหลายท่าน ก็ขอให้เจ้าภาพทั้งหลายมีความสุขมีสุขภาพดีแล้วก็ เจริญนะทุกด้านแล้วก็สามารถปฏิบัติธรรมโยมมะลินะโยมมะลิคือลูกก็โตแล้วต้องใช้เวลาปฏิบัติธรรมบ้างไม่มีอะไรจะแทนงานจะแทนการฝึกจิตนะคือกรุณากับมุทิตาเป็นการฝึกจิตนักวิทยาศาสตร์เขาพูดอะไรอาตมาก็ชี้แจงไปแล้วพระพุทธเจ้าพูดอะไรอาตมาก็ชี้แจงไปแล้วI also saw Rose, I think earlier, just by passing. So I would like to wish Rose also good health, long life, and I would like to wish everyone, members of the Sangha, and all the devotees in England and elsewhere, I would like to wish you good health, long life, and more ability to contribute to a righteous and peaceful society. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.